welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about creative World War II food. I call them vittles, some people do. And this came through the Office of Price Administration, some of the ideas. And this is a World War II administration that came about. They looked into meatless meals, beans, rice, veggies, and eggs. These were some of the things that if you didn't have a lot of meat, you figured out how to use other items. Maybe you grew beans in your garden, or especially the vegetables. And you could have had chicken, so you had eggs. Meatloaf was very popular. It didn't always have meat in it. But the little meat that you did have, you could stretch this meatloaf by adding veggies, lentils, which is beans, oatmeal, rice, barley, steel-cut oats back then, which were just rough oats, and anything that you had in your garden. The veggies, yes, but garlic, onions, chives, herbs, and make it into a loaf and put it into the oven, and you would have meatloaf. Usually one day a week they would have meatloaf. Again, not necessarily with meat. Now, if you are out of flour and you want to make something with a flour base, you can grind beans and make your own flour. It's bean flour. People used to grind the beans to make the flour and then add just a little bit of sugar, not much because it was rationed, to make it taste better. Onions were plentiful because they grew in the garden. Now, you can take onions and you can stuff them. Stuff them with all types of things. A popular item that onions were stuffed with were grape nuts. Yes, Grape Nut Cereal. It's a pretty tough cereal. It's like eating nuts. But if you put it inside an onion and you bake it or you cook it, you could add a little bit of sugar if you had it, or maybe some honey from someone's beehive, and it tasted pretty good. You can put mixed vegetables in onions. You can stuff them with mixed vegetables. Today, I stuff onions with herbs, different types of meat. I've done lentils, beans. I've done a mixture of things. Whatever I have in the garden, whatever I have in the pantry, or whatever I have in the refrigerator or freezer. Not necessarily always a lot of meat. You can put cheese in there. Another thing that you can do with onions, they're called stuffed onion rings. They're very interesting and they're actually very good. You take 2 onion rings, complete. You put a piece of cheese between them, make a circle, and then you dip them in an egg and you batter them. You can make a batter and then deep fry them, and it makes an onion ring, but it's stuffed with cheese. They are amazing. I can't say how good they are because you just have to try it. Later on, I'll have a recipe for that. Another thing that people used to go and get from the parks, from your yard, from your farm, dandelion greens. Dandelion greens with garlic, a little bacon grease for flavor. They're wonderful. I take dandelion greens from my back. I wash them thoroughly, probably 2 or 3 times. I don't spray anything here, so that's not a problem. I can either saute them with onion, garlic, a little bacon grease, and that'll be a side item, or I can have a salad. I'll take other vegetables from the garden. I'll have a dandelion green salad. I may have tomatoes, cucumbers, onions. Depends on what I have in the garden. Peppers. It makes a very hearty, fresh salad. And you don't have to go far to get it. Just in your backyard or your property. Another thing is coffee was rationed. 1 pound every 5 to 6 weeks. So if you figure out how many cups of coffee you would be able to drink if you only got 1 pound of coffee every 5 to 6 weeks, it wouldn't be much. I'm not a coffee drinker, but I'm a tea drinker. Coffee being rationed at this point, what they used to do is they used to reuse the coffee grounds. So it was a very weak coffee. Now, they didn't waste the coffee grounds. After it was finished, they put them out in their garden and tilled them under. But 1 pound every 5 to 6 weeks, I don't know too many coffee shops that could do that. They wouldn't stay in business. And there was another drink that was available at the same time, and it was used in the place of coffee. This is called Postum. Now, they still make Postum, and I have not seen it in the stores in about 2 years. But right before everything started to happen, Postum was on the shelf. It's a powder. It's not coffee. I don't think it has any caffeine in it, but it almost tastes like coffee. And you add milk and you serve it hot, and it's really good. Very expensive. At that point in time, about 3 years ago, it was $6.99 for 6 ounces. So it's very expensive. It's good, but I haven't even seen it in the stores lately. Now, another thing, if you had chickens on your farm or on your property, this was one of the recipes, and I'll try to get everything in here. There we go. It's called Scrambles from the Farm. Now, if you were on the farm, you had chickens, and you probably had a large garden. So you take 8 ounces of raw mixed vegetables and you grate them. You only take 2 eggs. And back then they would take ½ an ounce of oil, if they had butter, bacon grease, and add salt and pepper to taste. You melt the butter or the oil in the pan. You add the vegetables and cook these until they're tender. At the same time, you beat up the eggs and add your salt and pepper if you want salt and pepper on them. Pour the eggs in, scramble the eggs with the vegetables. This can be served over biscuits, toast, with potatoes. You can add potatoes if you want. It can also be served with pancakes. This was something that utilized everything in their garden. And again, if they had chickens, this was a hearty breakfast. Now, this would be for one person. This would not be for 2 people, especially if you were on the farm. You were working a lot. Well, I am so glad you stopped by today. I hope you found the information that I've provided helpful and interesting. Try the scrambles from the farm. I tried them the other day, and they're actually very good, very hearty, and I ate them first thing in the morning, and I definitely was not very hungry for lunch. So go ahead and try this, and in the comments below, let me know what you think about the different items that were rationed. Could you do with only 1 pound of coffee every week? Actually, it was 5 to 6 ounces. So it wasn't even a pound. Could you do with that little amount of coffee? Actually, it was 1 pound. I correct myself. It was 1 pound every 5 to 6 weeks. Still wasn't very much coffee. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, give me a thumbs up and share with your family and friends. Stop by next time for the next video. I hope to see you soon.